Good morning, class. Today we're going to be talking about tobacco. Remember, yesterday we were talking about alcohol and all of its health effects and how it affects you and your health. So today we're going to be talking about tobacco. As you can see on the PowerPoint, the first line says the best you that you can be is the one that's tobacco-free. So tobacco is really bad for you, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So what is tobacco? Who can tell me what tobacco is? Good job! Tobacco is in things like cigarettes, and chewing tobacco is also has tobacco in it. So tobacco is a plant that can be smoked. It's in cigarettes, pipes, or cigars. It can also be used in something called smokeless tobacco, such as chewing tobacco. Tobacco contains a chemical called nicotine, which causes a tingly or pleasant feeling, but it only lasts for a short amount of time. And nicotine is highly addictive. So, if you become addicted and you start using nicotine, then you won't be able to stop, and it'll be really hard for you to stop. And your mind and your body will become so used to it that you'll have to have nicotine just to feel okay. So why is tobacco harmful? Do any of you have any ideas why it might be harmful? Good job! We did just say that nicotine is addictive, so that can be very harmful. Let's look at some other ideas. Smoking tobacco can cause increased blood pressure, increased heart rate, bad breath, lung cancer, and tooth decay, and nicotine addiction like we said before. So here's a picture that's coming up. This is what your teeth can look like if you smoke tobacco. You see they're all rotten and bad. That's because the nicotine and the chemicals in the tobacco can cause your teeth to decay. And this is a picture of a lung. The one on the left here is a healthy lung. It's pink and healthy, and you can see that. The one on the right is a non-healthy lung. It's from someone who smokes tobacco, and you can see how it's all dirty and black. That's because the chemicals that are in the tobacco go into your lungs, and they can make them hurt and turn black and get all this tarry stuff in them. So why is tobacco harmful this time for chewing tobacco? Do you think that it's as harmful as smoking tobacco? I do. Let's find out why. So chewing tobacco can cause a lot of the same things as smoking tobacco can. Okay, so chewing tobacco can cause mouth cancer. So when you chew tobacco, it can cause you to get sores in your mouth, and sometimes they even have to take parts of your jaw away because it gets so cancer in it. Cracking and bleeding lips. So because you're always putting stuff in your mouth, they're always dried out because you're always using your lips. And so they'll dry and then they can crack and bleed. You can get an increased heart rate. You can get nicotine addiction from chewing tobacco too. Increased risk of stroke. An increased risk of brain cancer. And then you can see this picture shows a picture of oral cancer. So because you're chewing tobacco and all of the chemicals are getting into your mouth and under your tongue, you can see the damage it's doing to this person's tongue. And this picture explains that just because it's not smoking tobacco doesn't mean that it's not harmless, or that it is harmless. It's very harmful, just as harmful as smoking tobacco. Chewing tobacco can really hurt you. Excuse me. So, who can tell me the cost of smoking? How much do you think it costs to smoke one pack of cigarettes every day in a whole year? Yeah, I think it might cost a little more than $200. What do you guys think? Maybe? Let's find out. So, smoking does cost a lot of money. On average, one pack of cigarettes today costs $7.46. Considering that most smokers smoke one pack a day every day, this adds up to $2,722.90 a year. That's enough money for an entire family to take a whole week of vacation at Disney World in Florida. So what should you do if someone offers you a cigarette? What would you guys do? Yes, good job. You should say no. So always say no to smoking. If someone offers you a cigarette, act confident, even if you don't feel confident. You can still act and look confident. So if you look and pretend like you're confident, then they'll believe that you're confident in your decision. So how do you act and look confident? If you stand up straight and look the person in the eye and stand your ground, then they'll think that you're confident. If they continue to pressure you to smoke, just walk away. Remember, if the person that's offering you to smoke is your real friend, they won't pressure you to do anything that you don't want to do. So what can you say to your friend to get them to stop smoking? If you have friends who smoke or use tobacco, you can encourage them to quit. What are some reasons you think you could mention? Good job. The cost? That's right. Let's find some others. It will hurt their health. Do you remember the slides that we looked over with all of the things that it can do to your health to smoke or chew tobacco? It will make their breath stinky. Do you remember that slide when you're smoking all the time and your breath gets real stinky? It will turn their teeth yellow and gross. Do you remember the picture of the broken teeth and how they decayed because of the smoking? It will give them less endurance when running or playing sports. Because the smoking tobacco damages your lungs, then you won't have as much room for air and it'll hurt when you breathe sometimes and you won't be able to run or play as much as your friends do. And lastly, you could tell them that it's expensive. Remember that if you smoke one pack a day for a whole year and you quit smoking and saved that money, you could afford a whole trip to Disney World for a whole week. Here are some other interesting risk factors involved in smoking and chewing tobacco. So, 480,000 people die every year from smoking. This can be complications from smoking, like lung cancer or like increased heart rate. You could have a heart attack or a stroke that can be linked back to smoking. Smokers on average live 10 years shorter than non-smokers. So a person who smokes might die when they're 80, but someone who doesn't smoke might live to be 90 and they have the same health. The only difference is that the person who smoked lived 10 years less because of the cigarettes. Smokers increase the risk of dying from a coronary heart disease by almost 4 times. So that means that someone who smokes is 4 times more likely to die from a heart disease than someone who doesn't smoke. The best way to quit smoking is to not start smoking in the first place. Remember, smoking causes multiple health problems that we've learned about through this presentation. Also, a real friend will not pressure you to smoke. So, if someone keeps asking you to smoke and won't believe your opinions and won't listen to how you feel about it, then they're not your real friend. because a real friend will never pressure you to do something you don't want to do. Next, smoking costs more over a year than a full week at Disney World. So, you can save a lot of money by not smoking. And last, tobacco contains nicotine, which is very addictive and hard to quit. So just don't start. If you don't start, then you won't have to quit and it won't be very hard to do. Now we're going to do an activity. So, everybody take out your journals. Alright, in your journals, I want you to write a response to each of these statements. I want you to say whether you disagree or agree or you're unsure and why you feel that way. I'll go ahead and read the statements. The first statement is, people with smoking-related diseases should pay for their own hospital treatment. Next, the price of a packet of cigarettes should be doubled to stop people from smoking. Snacks and foods that look like cigarettes should not be sold. Next, it should be illegal for people under 18 to smoke cigarettes. The next statement is nicotine and products containing nicotine should only be available from a doctor. And finally, cigarettes should be banned completely. So go ahead and write your statements in your journals. And tomorrow when we come back, we'll discuss what you found and what you thought about these statements. The end.